Welcome back, everybody, to the 360 Sports Network at 360sportsnetwork.com. I am the Lost Cause, coming to you again with the daily Pigskin Blink, a daily look at fantasy football and the NFL and everything else in between to help make your fantasy football team hum. Tonight, the Dallas Cowboys at 7-6 look to come into Tampa Bay at 4-9 and hopefully get a win on their way to winning the NFC East over the Giants. They could also possibly keep winning in hopes of getting the 5th or 6th seed in the NFC wildcard race. They're doing it on the back of Tony Romo, who is having an on-par kind of season. Actually, it's a little bit better than on par, but not by much. 64% completion ratio that he was running through his career is now at almost 65. Quarterback rating that's 1 point above 100. So it's a more solid season than what he's had in past seasons. His yardage is way up there, 3,600 plus. Touchdown interception ratio 26-9. In his last couple games, he's been I'd say better than solid. An average of 311 yards per game passing, as well as 2.5 touchdowns without any interceptions these last couple games. He did have a down game in Miami 3 weeks ago, only throwing for 226, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But the 2 games previous to that against Washington and Buffalo, each of those games over 270 yards, each of those games 3 touchdowns, and each of those games no interceptions. And now he has a full wide receiving core available to him that are healthy. Yes, Laurent Robinson has a shoulder problem. I don't think that that's going to affect him at all. If you have Dez Bryant, Miles Austin, Laurent Robinson, if you have one or if you have all 3 on your team, I say that they're all 3 are going to be solid starts. Jason Witten, on the other hand, might not be as solid of a start. In this last game, having all 3 of those wide receivers back, he only grabbed 3 receptions for 12 yards. If you have another option, I guess you could make a case for it, but at the same time, it's hard to say no to 64 receptions, 772 on the season, and 5 touchdowns. There's always that threat, there's always that ability of him to have another 4 or 5 reception kind of game for a little bit over 50 yards and to get you some points and potentially a touchdown. Felix Jones also coming into the game, starting in place of DeMarco Murray, who he took over for in the last game because of DeMarco Murray's, we'll say, season break. He had 100 yards in that game. I don't see why it would be any deviation against Tampa Bay at this point. Tampa Bay, they're going to give up yardage. I think they're going to give it up both in bulk, in the air, as well as on the ground. As for Tampa Bay, looking at quarterback, Freeman and Johnson, they play at about the same level. I probably wouldn't start either one. Mike Williams is a hard sell for me. I mean, if you do need him, you're throwing him into a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, flex 1 kind of position, throw him in there. I don't think that he's going to do as good as a potential breakout from Desmond Briscoe in this game. Desmond Briscoe is building up a real subtle kind of trend. Last game, no touchdowns. Game before, 1 touchdown. Game before that, no touchdowns, no receptions. Game before that, 1 touchdown. So it looks like he's on par to have a touchdown in this game, as well as some yardage. LeGarrette Blount, I don't think he's a solid play in PPR. However, he's worth a play in PPR. He just gets rock hands at times. In this game, I think that he's going to be a solid play, especially in standard leagues. You're probably going to see him get between 16 and 20 carries for about 87, 88 yards. Probably going to see him get in the end zone too. So he's definitely a solid play. Kellen Winslow, who I think is a very, very underrated kind of tight end, especially this year, 58 receptions, 600 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I think that's where he really does get hurt. If you do need a tight end that is going to play like a wide receiver 2 kind of play, Kellen Winslow is definitely it. He has shown that he will sometimes only get a couple looks, only get 2 receptions, 38 yards. That's what happened at Jacksonville last week in their loss. You could also see him get 9 receptions and 100 plus, which is what he did against Green Bay. So there's a dynamic going on here where his play is really kind of the play of the offense. If the offense is doing well, I think that you're going to see him kind of flourish. If the offense is doing bad, he's going to go down right with the ship, right with all the rest of them. But that all being said, he's just like Witten. He's in the same boat. If you have him, you should definitely start him because they are solid numbers. They're not going to be 12, 15, 20 points a week, but they are going to be a solid 5 to 10 no matter who the opponent is, no matter what the week is. That's it for me for my preview of tonight's game, the first Saturday night game of the NFL season for this year. You can check out this broadcast as well as every other broadcast at 360sportsnetwork.com as well as fantasyfootballtoolkit.com. If you got any questions, comments, suggestions, anything under the sun that you want to send me, that you want to ask me, you can send it over to lostcause@fantasyfootballtoolkit.com. Take it easy, everybody. Enjoy the football Saturday as the bowl games begin this afternoon. And then we got a nice fantasy football game tonight. Later.